And that's there we go. There we go. There
That
we go.
works.
What's up, man? Good stuff. Good stuff. Isn't that crazy how that like that's something so small. Like, are you kidding me? This shit,
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is really interesting.
man.
That's technology, man. That's technology.
It should have worked in the web browser fine, but of course, like whatever. Rashid, we are so. It is an honor for the wrestling crew. We go by Real TWC, Real Wrestling Crew, and it is an honor to have you on our show, Crew Talk. My name is JB. I am the COO of the Wrestling Crew, and my partner right here is I'm co-founder. My partner and co-founder and CEO is Carlton. He will be joining us. He's joining us today. Our other comrade, Sharif, who we call the GOAT for us, who holds a lot down on Instagram. He cannot be here today because he's getting his second COVID shot. So he's doing
Yes.
he's doing his right by his health and doing that. So yeah, dude, it is an honor to have you on. I got so excited. I've been that little gnat that's been nagging you a little bit, like messaging you to try to get you on. And I'm just really excited to have you on, man. And I want to say I'm just really appreciative of everything you're doing for the Black community, Philadelphia, in general. And I guess just to start this off, like how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I am excited to be here. I get invited to a lot of things, but never about wrestling. So this is new, but also probably going to be my favorite thing in the last year. I've tweeted about it, so yeah, we're excited.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So before we get into a little bit of wrestling, I just wanted to talk a bit, talk a little bit about you in general. Like your rise has been so cool. Like my fiance knows who you are, man. Like I told her that we were interviewing you, and she like freaked out. I'm just letting you know, like you're like a big deal, man. Like,
I feel like the Bianca Bel-Air of Philadelphia. I love that. Our rise is like going, just not stopping anytime soon.
It's crazy, man. So, so basically, let's just get started here. Like, what specifically made you start the account on Instagram? What specifically made you start and champion your account?
Well, I think it was the whole idea that I'm a person who's always like active out in the community. But of course, when you have COVID factored in, that's one of those things that keeps everybody inside, right? Well, hopefully everybody. Of course, not everybody, but yikes. So there's like this insurgence, and there's like this insurging idea that like people have to always be outside and be on the ground, right, in order to help people. When that's not it at all, right? So technology, even though we crack on it a lot of times, I know I call technology stupid a lot. It's one of those things that has become a very helpful tool, and if you like use it correctly, right, the possibilities are really endless. So we're seeing how people are holding on seminars and meetings and things where there's like also feedback in the back of somebody's there's like feedback coming from somewhere. I'm sorry, y'all.
No worries. We can hear you.
Cool. So yeah, so there's like, so many different ways that people can, help in the community. So it's like donating money, making phone calls, you know what I'm saying? Being a part of like planning organizations and things like that. People see big marches and they're inspired, and that's a great thing, right? But then that's always the end all be all to people, and that's always the goal for people, is to create marches and create protests when there's so much more that people could be doing and so much more that people don't see behind the scenes, right? So that's kind of where PhreedomJawn just like was born out of. It was born out of just, and also I guess what was important around that time period, right, was that we had just started all those protests in Philadelphia, and so also the National Guard posted up in Philadelphia. So that was really important to let people know, of course, because there was a lot of fear tactics going on from the city, in a state governance in the city of Philadelphia. So just letting people know where the cops were, letting people know where the National Guard was, keeping them safe, and that's really how it just started, and it just blew up. Really, it did. I didn't expect as much. Like when I got to 10K, I never know my follower count, so I don't even know my follower count now, right? But I remember somebody messaged me and was like, "You're at 10K," and I'm like, "I'm at 10K," and then I look, And then I'm like, oh wow, I can put links in my story now. How about that?
And with you just talking about your follower count, man, like I guess like how just to bridge off that, how has that like impacted like your life specifically in the last year or so, man? It's like I'll tell you your follower count. It's like almost 40K, man. That's
Oh wow.
ridiculous. That's you're an influencer, man. Like it's like how has that changed like your how's that like changed your overall just like perception and just your overall just like everything over the past year? Like, is it not much different? Is it a lot different? You know, how's that from your point of view?
So it's different because I realize that a lot of people know me. So like I get messages, weird, creepy messages from people sometimes. They're like, "Oh my god, I just see you at Fresh Grocer," and I'm like, "Please don't do that ever again." um,
I'm just trying to get
but
groceries.
yeah, it is weird because it makes people feel like they have so much more access to you. And
Hmm.
even though I do go for a very community and like care-based approach to people and like a lot of joy, I need people to also realize that I am a person and I do respect my privacy, like I respect other people's privacy.
Yep.
So if you see me walking down the street, please do not be weird and be like, "Are you FreedomJawn?" Because my friends have asked me, I have told me that people think that they're FreedomJawn because I put up pictures of them, and so they're like,
Ah.
"Are you Freedom?" And I'm like, "Please don't do that to people in my life. Like that's very weird." But it's connected me to so many more resources and so many more people and allowed me to even expand my own form of thinking, right? And
Hmm.
I'm allowed to like build community based off so many different things. So like again, like I talk about social justice, but there are those moments where I am like, yeah, I'm just gonna go totally fangirl with the WWE and post something about like that, right? And then I
Hmm.
have this insurgence of people in Philadelphia who are now connecting with each other because they're like, oh, you like that? Like I like that too, and
Hmm.
then like little conversations just start to happen. So I think I realized how impactful like an Instagram page can be has changed. Yeah, and that's not on an influencer level because I still see myself as a community member. I see myself as a community advocate.
Hmm.
So like, and I try to be careful about what I'm posting because I don't want to let people think that I'm selling them things, right? There's a
Right.
difference between informing and there's a difference between marketing, right? And I'm not trying to market anything. I'm just trying to authentically bring information and community goodness to everybody, right?
Hmm. For sure, man. Beautiful, beautiful. And like that's amazing seeing you still incorporate all that into your new platform, and it's just great to see all that connection. And yeah, it's amazing, man. What I guess like um why Freedom John? I'm sure you've gotten that question. Like, why? So, how that name? Like, the account's one thing, but how the name? Like, how did you sit on the name? Because the name's so unique and it's so Philly, but it encompasses like everything. It just sums up everything with what you've been doing. So, how did you come to that name? Like,
It's one of those things where it's like really like this is like probably the easiest thing I ever came up with. I came up with it in less than 5 seconds. I was like, this page is about liberation. So how
mm-hmm.
can I make liberation sound more Philly? So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna call it freedom. Put a PH on it, and then I'm a Jawn. There we go. And then a Jawn is
Damn.
me. So the page is a Jawn, right? The street is a Jawn. The place is a Jawn. I'm a Jawn. So it's like everything. Like everything is just FreedomJawn. Everything.
That's crazy, man. That's amazing. Yeah, man. So like I see you like in different publications, like your account, your content on your account is so like what I really like about, and part of the reason we wanted to reach out to you is because you are so focused on Black news, Black community oriented things, but you also have the tinge of being like accessible too. Like the post that you just put up, like you're like, hey, stop Asian hate, but don't make. You're essentially saying like, our people are good. Like we have our things that we have to deal with, and but we don't want like other people experiencing hate. And I think that's a beautiful thing because something a lot of people don't realize, especially I feel in so, there's some type. people don't realize that the Black community is very open and very inclusive and very like shareful. If that makes any sense. Like we're like,
Yeah.
you know, like we're like the most friendliest people around. But unfortunately, as we all know, that's not, that narrative isn't out there like that. You know, for multiple reasons. And I think that your account really encompasses all that your account really it's such a complex and nuanced type of, what it is being Black in America and having other people who are not Black open themselves to try to see a different point of view from a people of color's, from a person of color's point of view, especially being Black in America. Like you being able to harness that is just bravo, man, bravo. I'm just saying, like it's not easy. It's not easy to communicate like that, and be out there for the LGBTQ community too. Seriously, it's like it's amazing. I love it, and yeah. So, aside from that and all that praise, let's get to it. Let's get to why we are all here today. Pro wrestling. That's what we all love. And I love that I saw you post that message on Instagram. I was like, "What? You like pro wrestling?" I saw you. I was like, "Okay." And yeah, let's get to it. So I'm gonna bring it to Colton right now.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, first and foremost, man, thank you for joining again. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it, man, because it's especially on a Sunday where we all can just kick back and relax and probably throw on like a crazy like movie like Falcon or something. But you decided to like chill with us. So I gotta ask you first and foremost, man, what got you into wrestling? Like, what is the one thing that said, "Hey, I love this, Jawn"?
I am going to tell you, I remember exactly where I was the first time I seen my first wrestling match. It was probably 2001, 2002, and I was about I was born in 96, so that was about I was about 6, 7 years old maybe, and it was New Year's. It was New Year's Eve, and Friday Night SmackDown was on. And so I'm just flipping through channels and I'm like, oh my God, there's nothing on at 8 o'clock at night for kids. And I'm like, this is so corny. And then all of a sudden I see this big 7'5" Indian man, and it was the Great Khali. And he was maybe it wasn't 2000, maybe it wasn't that early. Maybe it was a little later because I think their battles came a little later. So it maybe was around 9, 10, maybe. Mm-hmm. But the Great Khali was, well, not the Great Khali. Rey Mysterio was trying to beat the Great Khali, and it was everything he was doing just wasn't working because it's this small man. And I'm like, what is this, right? So I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember parents buy you stuff, so I remember having Goldberg pajamas, even though I didn't necessarily even know who the hell he was. And The Rock, of course, everybody knew who The Rock was, right? But I've never actually sat and watched a wrestling match. And I think from that point on, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. This is the most interesting thing I've ever seen in my damn life. This is interesting. And I just loved it. I really did. The thrill of seeing Rey Mysterio. Honestly, anytime you see Rey Mysterio perform and you see his just resilience and how hard he just goes and how much somebody as big as Great Khali could not keep him down. I think that kind of lured me in because I'm damn, well, what's going on, right? Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Rey Mysterio is one of my when I was a kid, seeing Rey Mysterio hop around everywhere. Watching back when WCW was a thing. I was watching Rey Mysterio just kill it for the Lucha Libre style, the cruiserweights. And he really brought that to the States, and he's such a legend. And I love that he's still involved and he started so young. He was only he's only seriously, he's been in the game for 25 years. He's only 44 years old.
Yes, I just realized that the other day. And I was wait, he's only 44 years old. And I'm damn, he's really been doing this for a long time and at such a young age. And I remember even the Dominic, the paternity of Dominic matches, and I'm what? And to see him as a wrestler now, I'm
wrestling now,
crazy. Yep. This is ridiculous. I don't even realize how young he is, right?
Yeah. The crazy part about it is he got to be 18 at this point. I think Dominic's 18.
He's a
And
little
it's
bit
just like,
older because Aaliyah is like 18, like 19, right?
oh,
Isn't
yeah,
she?
yeah.
She's a younger sister, yeah.
So he has to be like 21 then, like 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah,
He's
and like,
definitely in his early 20s at best.
yeah, his in-ring work is definitely getting better over time. Like, you know, from his early bouts with like Seth Rollins and Buddy Buddy Murphy, like they were good. But now seeing him against people like, of course, Baron Corbin and stuff like that, you've seen like how he's been able to grow inside the ring over the last year. So seeing him like his debut when he was first helping his dad to like now, I'm like, wow, like you can actually go far. Like you're actually going to be able to carry that Mysterio last name and legacy, that the whole luchador, like, you know, whole idea.
Oh yeah, definitely, no doubt, man. So let me ask you this, because it is WrestleMania season. WrestleMania is coming up next week. We debate about this all the time, so I would love to get your input on this one, because Philly has not had a WrestleMania ever
forever.
since. Like
WrestleMania 15.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Because like we push and we fight and we yell, we get petitions, and like I feel like it's something against Philly, and I'm just like, why? Why is it? I feel like we're the best wrestling city in the world.
Well, what's interesting to me is that we are the best wrestling city in the world. And like, I always resent WWE for how they did ECW, because ECW was like the NXT of its time, right?
Yep.
And like, what we're seeing now, how they're like, NXT is the best brand that WWE's ever seen. And I'm like, that's false, because ECW is the best brand that, you know, we've ever seen. And y'all pushed every last one of them to the side to give us NXT about like 10 years later. And I'm like, that's interesting. So I would love to see WrestleMania come back to Philadelphia. I don't know what it is, but I know the last time it was here was one of the most magical matches of the main event, which was what? The Rock versus
The Rock,
Stone Cold.
And
Yep.
Steve Austin won. And you know, Philadelphia really just, I don't know, like I'm with y'all on that. I want them to come back so bad. Like I've been saying I want to go to a WrestleMania, because I had got out of wrestling while I was like in college, right? So from like 2014 to like 2018, I wasn't heavy into it because I had 2 jobs and I was going to school full time. So like I had a lot on my plate. So I honestly just got back into it. So I'm gonna tell you, I miss the insurgence of the Women's Revolution. I miss like Seth Rock, the Shield, and all that. I don't even know those storylines like that. Like that's crazy. Like to know that all of that shit happened while we were gone. I'm sorry, can we cuss?
Yeah, sure.
go ahead, you're good.
I'm a sailor. But like, it's just so much, and it's just like so many things they could do, and so much like that they could tie back to Philadelphia to like make so many like monumental matches for that year. I mean, for like whenever that happens, right? So I think that them not doing it is kind of just doing a disservice to them. But WWE has a history, and still does have a very like, you know, wide history of like knowing this is what everybody wants and going the exact different route. So yeah, so
They
yeah,
definitely do that. That's true. They
I also feel like Vince is scared of Philly, because we call him out on every single, like, all his bullshit every single time. Like, we call him out on everything. Roman was supposed to win. Then all of a sudden, we knew he was going to win. That's why he got booed. Like, we call him out on every predictable thing in the book. I feel like that's the reason why he's upset. By the way.
Yes, I thought that was very beautiful. And it's weird. I don't like. That brings me to a good point. Like in recent times, I hate how much we like put the spotlight on like very few people, and it's almost like we know. Like I love Charlotte Flair. I think Charlotte Flair is an amazing competitor. Like I think that she's honestly better than her dad. Like that's just me. Because she uses so many less, like, you know, she uses less, like, you know, of those tactics that he's known for to win, right? Like, he's the dirtiest player in the game. And she's built her entire career off of athleticism. Like, she's like that girl. Like, can her dad do a Spanish fly? I don't know. Like,
I mean, he tried.
It's true. It was a different game, but in his prime, no, he could not. I don't think yeah, you're right.
And keep in mind, like, women have to work harder than the men to be known. And it's like, I love her, right? But knowing that she's going to be in every single damn WrestleMania is like, oh, it's hell to me already. And she's still so new in her career, right? And I just wish that, like, for Roman Reigns, that they would just go a different route. Like, the whole head of the table thing was cute for all of, like, 5 months. And then I'm like, we are so past it. Like, we are very Like, I feel like they could have done something with like Jey Uso a little bit better. Like, they could have brought back Jimmy or something like that. I don't know what he's doing, if he's like recovering from an injury or something like that. But it's like we need a full circle moment. Like, it's like we're going in circles now. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I would have loved to see like Jey Uso just like sweet chin music Roman. Like that would have been great.
Yeah,
that would have been a mania. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Edge going for the title. I mean, I feel like he's going to get it anyway. But I loved last year him coming back in the Royal Rumble was GOAT. That was the GOAT reaction. I remember we screamed, JB. You remember that? Like we didn't know what the world was going on. Yeah. So it's just like I want to see Edge win one more time, have a championship one more time. Besides, honestly, I feel like that kind of would be better right now. Give it up to Roman. He did great. He held on to it, but now it's time to give it up. Especially, I'm just glad that this WrestleMania there's no Goldberg, no Brock, no part-timers. Yes. Like, I'm glad. So I'm glad that. And speaking of Mania and champions, so I gotta get you. What do you think of the Hurt Business right now? I think this is the best thing for Lashley's career.
They are just like the best. Like, listen, I have grown an appreciation in my adulthood for a good heel character. Right? When you're a kid, you're like, no, I hate the heels. Like, all these people are just like, no, why are you being so mean? Then I get older and I understand, and I'm like, no, go for it. Right? And I think that Bobby Lashley has been one of those underappreciated characters inside of WWE, right? And I think that MVP is another one because a lot of people forget that when MVP's his first run, he got done really bad towards the end of his career. And MVP put on a lot of great matches with people like Kane, Finley, and all of that. So I think that he was up there with like the greats, and he's up there with the greats. And so the fact that they make him very minute in those settings is like a disservice. But the fact that he was able to come back and rebrand Shelton Benjamin's career, Bobby Lashley's career, and then give Cedric Alexander, you know what I'm saying, a really big run and give him his first like big championship in like, you know, the on the main brand, like that's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that the Hurt Business is really doing something different and being as though like they are able to keep it fresh, right? Even when Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander were having their differences, that still felt fresh. And they didn't have to drag it out to their own individual rivalry right then and there. They're allowed to drag it out, right? And I think that they're doing something really great with that. Whereas though, even like, how do y'all feel about The Fiend and Alexa and Randy Orton? I'm asking y'all questions now. Who's interviewing?
Go for it.
Hey, no, we sitting back. The Fiend, I feel like WWE done screwed him 3 times in a row. Like, they just, every time his career is at this level, all of a sudden gets cut down and he disappears again. Then you get The Fiend, and then you have the championship, and then you let him lose it to Goldberg, of all people. So I'm just like, what in the world is going on? Now that he's back, there's a new Fiend, by the way. And then what they should have done, they were going to bring a girl in. Don't bring in Alexa Bliss. I would have brought Liv Morgan to be Sister Abigail because that's the way it was going in the first place.
So here's the thing about that, right? I'm not mad that they went with Alexa Bliss, but here's the thing. They had that small little like riffraff between her and Nikki Cross when that would have been a perfect opportunity for them to bring back Twisted Nikki Cross. And I thought if they were going to do something with that, again, with The Fiend, his whole character is about if you come across and tack with him, you change, right? So that would have been a perfect time for them to like have a little riffraff between Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, but then bring them both back as Sinister and make them another tag team again, and then like have them be like this unstoppable force. Because Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler are doing a really great job. I never liked Shayna Baszler until she came to the main roster. Well, until she got this role, because it allows us to see a little bit less of a serious side of her and a little bit more fun and creative side of her with it. But I think that it's falling short like now because they don't have a direction. So it was even great when they brought in Charlotte Flair and Asuka, which was kind of overdone because again, like we already had Asuka as a tag team champ with Kairi Sane, and like Sis didn't even leave a whole year ago yet, and you're already putting her with somebody else, which is weird. But what I've learned also about them and the women's tag team, they don't do good writing around it because why they broke up the Iconics as well, I'm just like, I don't get that. Just to pair them with other people, which is interesting. But like,
yeah, exactly.
Been great, right? Yes. The Fiend was doing so well, and like, even the new outfit change. I'm like, what is all of this? Like, we don't need all of this, like all the extra semantics. And it's just like, Alexa's been doing really great carrying the Fiend on her own without him being there. And I think that's different for us to see, right? But it's just weird, right? Like WWE has dropped the ball so many times because you think about how they broke up the Riot Squad. Had Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott come back as a rivalry. Sarah Logan left in the midst of that.
Yep.
And then, like, as soon as Sarah Logan left, y'all put the Riot Squad back together.
Yep.
And I'm just like, y'all are dropping the ball so much.
And like, there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype when Liv Morgan was coming back. There were promos like building her up. Like Carlton, you just mentioned. Yeah, we thought she was going to be. It was like going to be a big like, and then when she came back, she was like the lover of Lana or something like that, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong. That happened, and then she's back. And then like the Riot Squads broke up, but then like as you said, Rashid, then Sarah Logan leaves, and then now they're like back together and friends again. And I'm like, what? Do you guys even know what you're doing right now?
It's just too much. So, and it's crazy too because the way that she left too. Like, I think one of her last matches she had before she left was like with Charlotte on SmackDown. And like one of the biggest things she said, like, I'm very like, I remember a lot of stuff I don't know. But she was saying like she had to get better because like Charlotte Flair kept yelling at her, like, you're not good. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need to grow up. And like she literally left the ring saying like she was going to get better. And then like they did this big build up for Liv Morgan. And then like now we haven't even seen her in a few weeks. And I'm like, okay.
Well, here we go. Here we go back again with doing nothing. And then they have 2 nights, and they're still not using her correctly. I don't even know why they got 2 nights this year. It's just another thing. You're going to be live. You're live. I don't know why you got 2 nights. You're going to be live in a stadium for the first time in over a year in front of fans. Like, have one big night. Let's get back to life and regular like WrestleMania. But I think he's just trying to get more tickets, more money,
and
for 2 nights for no reason.
And then had her win against Natalya at like last year's like WrestleMania. And like that was how it was where it was like I realized they were kind of like trying to build her up because it was like, yeah, there's a big future for Liv Morgan, that same like bout that Michael Cole and them do all the time, and then like their words never go anywhere. So
exactly. So I got another question for you, man. So your opinion on the state of wrestling today? Now that's like WWE. You got AEW now. They got Paul White and Christian now. Impact Wrestling. Like with all 3 of them, those are the 3 major ones right now. You got New Japan Pro Wrestling too. But with all of that right now, what is your opinion on the state of wrestling right now? Because I can tell you, I feel like AEW is doing like a WCW thing where they're elevating. They're getting a lot of old big names coming in to help coach up some of these people, especially to help out Cody Rhodes, especially because he's about to have a kid. He's going to be out for a while. What is your opinion on the current state of wrestling, considering all of those brands coming together?
It's a lot. And so like I have not explored. I've never watched Impact Wrestling, and I said I was going to watch AEW, but I've never gotten into it right away. I haven't gotten into it yet, so I actually need to make my rounds. But I know they're getting a lot of those big names. And I felt like that's something that could happen was like those crossover type things. And what was interesting was I thought, and this was definitely me not necessarily knowing like the full extent of like the rivalry between AEW and WWE, but at first I had thought AEW was coming when I don't even know their names because they so bad. Like they flopped so bad when they came. What's those people that came? Retribution. I thought the Retribution raid was actually AEW in the beginning before we realized what it was, right? And so I felt like something like that could happen. And so I felt like it was going great. And then when I did more research and I was like, oh wow, like they literally made AEW because they hate the WWE. And I just wish that everybody would get on the same page. But also, I just think that Vince McMahon is going to be his worst enemy in the end because he's so focused on like everything being his way. WWE isn't going to survive, right? Because they're going to lose a lot of those they're going to lose a lot of like big names now because even those big names that we have are coming out and saying that they're not fulfilled with what it is they're being like used for, right? So I think the state of it is great, right? Because we have different like things in order, we have different brands and different companies to look at, right? But it's going to be a competition. Like, they're already doing the ratings thing, right? But pretty soon it's going to be, they're going to have to start giving up that bag to a lot of wrestlers. Like, they're going to have to start giving up that bag. It's going to be like the battle of the bag now, because like they're like, I can go over here and be more creative.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to stay here, like, you're going to have to give me them coins. Like, you know what I'm saying? But the state right now is stable. It's stable. But give it 5 years and we might see a little difference. I don't think WrestleMania is going to be as big as it used to be in about like 10 years.
Really?
I don't think so. Because I don't see the hype around it. Like, even before the pandemic, I didn't see the hype around WrestleMania as much as I did when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, WrestleMania was like big. Like, it was competing with the Super Bowl, like going over Super Bowl ratings. And now, like, we're barely cutting it. Like,
I hear that.
True. Yep. That's true.
I gotta rewind for a moment here, because you said something, man. The way Retribution came in was insane. I was like, whoa, this is like, I haven't seen this since like
the Nexus.
Yes, Nexus.
Yeah, since Nexus, like since Nexus came and destroyed everything, and that was crazy back then. And they dropped the ball with that, by the way. That's a whole nother rant. But Retribution, like, I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And that fell so hard on its face. I think that Retribution might be possibly the biggest bust of a stable that I can remember. The way that, like, we talked about the Hurt business. The Hurt business looks amazing now. Retribution is like an afterthought after, like, it's like floundering. Like, it's like, what, they don't even know what to do with it now. Now they're like, now like the leader's getting, like, Mustafa Ali's getting like beat up by his own group now. Like, it's like there's no, I cannot believe how they just dropped the ball, in my opinion, with that. And it came in so hot, and it's just crazy. It's just an example of how, like, momentum can be lost with something so good. And WWE has done that multiple times. I just mentioned Nexus. Nexus was like, Dalton, yeah, I was at the time, that was insane. Like, I was like, it was crazy when that was happening, and that fizzled out. Like, so I think it's definitely true, Rashid. You mentioned, like, Vince sometimes, like, it's a complicated relationship with Mr. McMahon. He's created some of the greatest characters and some of the biggest moments, and is a wrestling pioneer. We all know that, right? But he can be his worst. We all know that he can be his own worst enemy. And when he wants to push something, like you mentioned, you didn't watch between 2014 and 18, right? Well, in between those years, they really pushed Roman Reigns, like really pushed Roman Reigns, no matter what. It was like Roman Reigns or bust, like, and the crowd hated it. You have The Rock come out at the Royal Rumble, like Colton,
and they're still booing.
You have one of the, like, we get in these debates all the time, but however you feel about The Rock, whether you like him, you hate him, he is one of the top 3 biggest stars of all time in North American professional wrestling. I really want to say all professional wrestling in the world, but you know, that guy comes out and he ain't doing anything. They're still booing Roman Reigns. Like, and that's because of Vince's, like, stubbornness about getting this guy over instead of listening to the crowd didn't, like, it's a complicated relationship.
And it's interesting, though, because it's like they have all of this time, right? Because I remember the 2 people that everybody was gunning for this Royal Rumble was Keith Lee and Bianca Belair, right? So they gave us one, but we couldn't get the other because I think he was sick or something like that, which was fine, right? And, like, there's no way it's like they don't get this feedback. Because it's like, y'all have the hashtag up there for us to give y'all the feedback.
Yeah.
Like, y'all have so much time to, like, rework these storylines and to come up with a very, very solid storyline. And there's wiggle room to be a little bit more creative. Vince just doesn't care. Like, he's just like, no, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I think he has this weird thing. Like, they have this weird obsession they have for the Samoan bloodline right now is really just annoying the hell out of me, because I'm like, y'all are so obsessed with Roman Reigns, but, like, Tamina is still just sitting there looking for her moment. Like, sis ain't got a championship yet. Like, my sister partnered with Natalia. She said, you know what? Like, I know she didn't got some kind of goal in the past. Like, maybe we could do something. But yeah, it's weird. Like I even think about how you said the Nexus. Like, there is not one single standing member left of the Nexus that's like a big star in the WWE right now. Is there? I don't think so.
Daniel Bryan, he was the original.
Technically,
Oh, that's
Daniel
right.
Bryan.
Yes. You're absolutely right about that.
When he choked out, when he choked out, was it who was it, Michael Cole or Saxton? He choked out somebody with the tie.
Yeah. They edited that out. Oh, if you rewatch it, they don't show it. But we saw that happen live. Like, he was choking it.
It was great.
What? And so, like, that's the crazy thing about it. Like, I know, like, Wade Barrett is on NXT as an announcer, and I'm like, okay, cool. But it's just like it's nothing. Like, we get nothing from these people, and it's like Daniel Bryan is like, you know, for all extensive purposes, I know this is The Rock, but he's the people's champ, and it's like so many people want to see like Daniel Bryan excelling. And it's like, y'all keep doing the same recipe, which is letting him lose to Roman Reigns. And it's like, we are very tired of that shit. Like, I am so tired of that. Like, when their storyline comes on now, like, I tune out. I'm just like, you know what? Like, it's the same thing. And like, Paul Heyman was an interesting addition to it in the beginning, but now I'm just like, well, do we really need you? Like, he's added something. And that's the thing, he's added some good flair. What's crazy is, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I think that Jey Uso and Paul Heyman have probably been the best part of the Bloodline storyline, right? Head of the table storyline. I hate that, and I also hate that slogan. It's like, everything's just so passe. Like, I'm just like, this is all just corny. Like, they're really just being corny right now.
And then the other part about that too is that I didn't like the fact that they took the tag titles off the Hurt Piece, because I'm like, they deserve their rest. I mean, how many times have we seen the New Day in WrestleMania defend the tag team titles and win it and lose it just to win it back again? Like, I've seen it all. Like, like, I would love for them to actually get their WrestleMania moment. What has Shelton Benjamin done? Like, he came back. I mean, he's like, he was the Kofi Kingston of before. Generation, when he was doing all these other moves.
Underrated wrestler. Huge, like
underrated wrestler. Only thing
I thought that was stupid.
I just didn't understand it either. And it's just like, again, like, we're giving people all the hurt, and even with Retribution, like, thinking back to them, like, and how bad that was, we just seen all these people running around, right? It was all these people in the beginning, and then somehow only managed to be like 4 of them. And I'm like, and then like Mercedes Martinez dropped out, and she was like, "This is definitely dead. I can go back to NXT for all that." And I was like, "Good move, sis, because this ain't it." And you stop poor Mia Yim just sitting there, you know, losing to Dana Brooke, and I'm like, you know, I don't really know how to help y'all with this. Like, bad writing. And I just felt like if we were going to do something, like, it seemed like the Hurt Business versus Retribution would have been like so much better, because I felt like when that small little rivalry was happening and it was like they were trying to spark it, it had a lot of like good feedback behind it. But again, they didn't listen. And it gave their Hurt Business an extra edge. It was like that anti-hero type feel, because it was like, they aren't good, but y'all messing with my business. And so like, now we got to be on y'all. And I felt like that could have been carried out a little bit further to WrestleMania. I just think their execution is so bad, because I was like, they waited. It was like they waited until after WrestleMania last year and then just got this insurgence of ideas, put all these ideas out into the WWE universe, and now that we're back in the next WrestleMania, they've already died out. When it was like, y'all had so much time to give us these things in increments and to build like great long-standing rivalries. And like, some of these rivalries could have been some of the best rivalries like known to man in the WWE history. Like, Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks is probably could have been the best rivalry we've seen in the last year. But with all that shit they did with Reginald and all that, I'm like, it's so watered down. And it's like, they did it intentionally too, because they don't want to give them the main event spot, but everybody wants them to have the main event spot.
And they deserve it.
And they do, because like, they're 2 of the best competitors. I mean, that whole women's list just came out. They put Bianca at like 40-something, which
she's gonna rise up. She's gonna rise up.
Right, and that's what I was gonna say. I'll give them that because she's
come back to that in 5 years. Come back to that in 5 years.
Sasha Banks number 6 under Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. I am not going to forgive that. She was the number 1 superstar in the year. In the world this year. So for y'all to give her number 6 on a list with these women is just ridiculous and crazy to me. But it's so intentional, and it's like you see them trying to like build this up, and like that's why they brought Daniel Bryan into the mix, because they're like, no, we want to add more star power to this because we don't want y'all to have that spotlight. Y'all have already had like your historic women's main event match. Like, we're not giving y'all that, and y'all are black women at that. We're not doing that. Like, Vince is like, you know what? We'll give the girls their things, but we're not giving them all of it. Like, that's not it. That's not happening. We'll give y'all like second to last match, but you're not giving the last match.
You were mentioning Bianca. What's everyone's thoughts on Bianca Belair? I am very high on Bianca. I think that she can be one
got the shirt.
Yeah, there we go.
Bianca.
I think that she has the I seriously think she has the gimmick, she has the ring ability, she has the looks, she has the attitude. Like, I haven't seen a women, like, my favorite women's superstar. I come from Carlton and I, like, we watched like a lot of Attitude Era and then like Ruthless Aggression. So Trish, Lita, even Natalia back then. Natalia was killing it back then. Jazz, Jacqueline, we saw that, but like Bianca is the first. Obviously, like the 4 horsewomen, like from NXT, Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, Bayley, like they all killed it. But I'm telling y'all right now, in my opinion, Bianca, she checks off every box for me. I think she does. I think she's gonna. I think she's gonna be monstrous. Like,
I'm just gonna tell y'all, and I told people this, and I warned people on Twitter, and people were like, "You think so? Like, he's never going to allow a black woman to be the face of the company." If Becky Lynch doesn't come back soon, she doesn't have a spot. Bianca Belair is going to take her spot. So she needs to figure that out. I know she has a baby, like, you know what I'm saying, but somebody's gonna have to figure that out. Because like they're not gonna be able to share the spotlight. They're not going to be able to share the spotlight. And like the four horsewomen are becoming that thing now where it's like they've beaten everybody. So now the thing is going to be everybody beating the 4 horsewomen. And like we're about to see, and they've already set it up, which is why people don't understand, like, the people didn't get that full circle moment at the Royal Rumble where there was Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair left in the ring. They have to remember that those are the 2 people that Bianca Belair have to beat now in order for her to feel to be the best. And they set it up to where, so once she beats Rhea Ripley and once she beats Charlotte Flair, she's the girl. Like, she's the it girl. She ain't got to beat nobody else because she's already done it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, she's beaten Bayley, which I think they should have made bigger. Like, it could have definitely been bigger. It could have been a pay-per-view. I'm rooting for Bianca Belair, and she is the pick for me out of the 2. I would hate to have Sasha lose her 6th WrestleMania or however many, because she hasn't won a WrestleMania, but I think they're going to have her win because that will be her first WrestleMania win. And that's why I think that they're going to set it up for her to win. But they're going to definitely let Bianca win the championship later down the line. But I've also noticed that they've been doing a lot of that talk where they're like, I don't think she's ready. And I think because they're doing a lot of she's not really ready talk, I think she might win. Right. So they're really setting it up to where as though either one of them could go. And that's why I'm saying, like, this is possibly one of the best rivalries we've seen in the last year, in the last 5 years, honestly. And it could just be so much bigger because it's like they played up Carmella and Sasha more than they played up Sasha and Bianca. And I'm like,
they're hung up on Carmella. Like they're giving a lot of chances to Carmella. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm indifferent with Carmella.
She's cool. She's cool.
I mean, she does the moonwalk. I mean, she has a nice moonwalk.
Yeah, like she's cool, but even then, like they play her like. Even when I was watching the like 50, like, you know, most amazing women, I'm like, Carmella is not that girl to be on this list. Like she's like. She won the first Money in the Bank, and I guess the second one because she cheated the first time. but like she hasn't done anything it factor-ish. Like I guess her it factor was like her cashing in on Charlotte Flair, which again, like the four horsewomen are the people to beat if you want to be the head of the business, right? And she's not technically or athletically sound like the rest of the girls. And we've seen people who have come from a dance background. Like Naomi is very underused, but also
Naomi's
like
amazing.
Like she's one of the best, athletic, one of the best wrestlers that they have on the roster. And even they set her up to be the girl to like try to like beat the four horsewomen sometime, and like they just fall short with those storylines. Like we want to see a Charlotte versus Naomi storyline, like you know what I'm saying, like a real one, like not just them in like some triple threat and maybe Charlotte pins her or something like that. Like we've seen Naomi like have the capabilities to beat almost everybody on the roster. And they just don't give, those chances where they are. But I think Bianca, like you said, has the gimmick. Like, I think about all those people who I used to love when I was growing up. So, like, Beth Phoenix was, like, my top. Like, I have a thing seeing, like, women exude that strength. Like, China is, like, up there. Like, she should have been number 1 on that list, even though she was number 3. Like, she set that standard, right?
We're big fans of China.
Yep. She set that standard for all the girls, right? So she came in at a time where she was, like, and you even think about it, like you think about Jacqueline, you think about Jazz, you think about China. They were all people who you knew had careers and also battling men before they were battling women, which is interesting because they made them some of the like least valuable players, right? But Bianca has, like you said, the gimmick. I see her being able to like camouflage and like go through like the years, being able to change her gimmick, sort of like The Rock. So The Rock never stayed with one just gimmick. He kind of like changed throughout and was able to like have that wiggle room. And then like her strength, like right, we've seen her out strengthen Nia Jax, right? So it's like, yeah, she has that. She
bounces off everything, man. She's like I'm rooting for her. I actually we have another account on TikTok, and I put we do these things called this is Crew Talk. We have little crew takes on TikTok, and I said that I believe Bianca Belair and her husband Montez Ford, like I think I really believe if he were given if he were given the rocket behind him to take him to the promised land, I think he would do it too. I think that they both are just like a power couple. Like they're charismatic. They're great in the ring. They're super athletic. They have mic skills. They have personality. Like if WWE is smart, they're going to hold on to those people, because if they mess up with those two and they go like to somewhere like AEW, you don't want that. That's all I'm going to say. Like I'm happy they're seeing it with Bianca right now. We'll see.
But you know what? That's what happened when Brody Lee, he left because they didn't use him right. And look what he did in AEW. I mean, holy crap!
Yeah,
like the dude was right before he died. He was on top of the world.
Yeah,
because WWE didn't know how to use him, and that's WWE's worst fear. I'm telling you, if they don't use Bianca right the way she needs to be used, don't hesitate that she won't roll. Like I'm telling you,
and that's the thing. Like it's crazy because it's like you see how much like let me tell you something. I was on the edge of my seat the entire night of the Royal Rumble, the entire time the women's match was going on. And I was literally just looking at her and Naomi. I truly believe if they don't give it to her next year, they need to give it to Naomi sometime soon, because she is the Kofi. She is the Kofi Kingston of the women's division. Like, she is like that underdog where it's like she's always doing something, but like they don't give her as much play as Kofi Kingston. So when I say Kofi Kingston, I'm thinking back to like maybe like his early days. Like he was, like 2006 to like 2010.
8, 9, 10. Yeah.
Yeah, where he was like, I'm saying, coming in and he was like going after the Intercontinental Championship and stuff like that. I think that she gives that, and like her athletic skills are also like kind of similar to his as well. And so it's just like we're not seeing these people used enough. But Bianca just, she has it. Like it is crazy because it's, again, one of those things that we're all saying. She has it. And so if they don't listen and they don't use her and they don't, but when I say use her, I want to see everybody use in a certain capacity. Everybody has something to lend to these like rivalries, right? Like, and that was the beauty of like the Attitude Era. Like, they knew how the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. They knew how to make something between two people, but then bring all of these different key figures into it to like build it up. And they're not doing that, and that's where a lot of people have gotten a lot of their like accolades and a lot of their like legendary status from. It's even being those extras in those rivalries. Like
that's like the GOAT AJ style.
Yeah, and so it's just like
all right. Stop. Okay.